I call it nonsense. And I'm sure you will agree. And now for a Facebook feed for some filler. Yes, that's right. Some stuff that comes through my Facebook feed which I save. It might be old, it might be new, it might be circulating from time to time, viral or not. It's just stuff that is very interesting to me. Like, for example, this that's come through my Facebook feed. Let's see. It is a Facebook... No, not a Facebook. A Face app that allows you to put on blackface as a filter with a selfie. Oh dear. That's not the only filter that it has. You can put an Asian filter, you can put a female filter over it. I think, yeah, it looks like, there are 4 features. Being one person has basically said, yeah, this is white, black, Asian, and Jessica Alba. And it's definitely a bit cringeworthy when you think about it. I mean, yeah, putting a filter over your face. I mean, geez, I mean, what do you say about that? I mean, a filter that can add that. Okay, well, I mean, just for fun, I guess. I guess a lot of people are probably thinking, why? I mean, I guess if you just want to see what you would look like as another race or gender, whatever. It's if used for the divine purpose of just boredom, I guess, but I could see a bunch of fraud going on perhaps using that filter. I mean, especially dating scams. I mean, it's bad enough as it is, but now you'll get perhaps those Nigerian scammers that download the app and put it over their face to change their identity, so then technically they're no longer stealing people's, photos, or, having to catfish. It's like, no, it's his actual identity. It's just a filter over the face. I mean, people use filters all the time, and it's not illegal, right? I mean, particularly, let's call it how it is right now, the female demographic with a lot of those filters, so Snapchat, Instagram, and what have you, where, beautify and touch up, Photoshop, all that sort of thing. So I guess we really should be looking into that pretty quickly. But for now, I'm staying out of this one. And speaking of covering up and putting things over something that is originally yours, this is old news, but hey, you know what? I'm going to cover it anyway. The Rock covers up his iconic Brahma bull tat with an even bigger, meaner, more vicious looking and artistic version of the Brahma bull. He's called it the evolution of the bull. And after 3 sessions, 22 hours of tattooing with world-renowned Nico Hurtado, he has effectively, and you can look this up, it's everywhere and everyone's up in arms about it. Even right now, it's still relevant. I think it'll be relevant for the rest of their life. He has decided to create what he calls the evolution of the bull, and now his whole arm is covered with a meaner looking bull tattoo, which is completely different. But the thing about it is that, that Brahma bull was, it was identity, it was as iconic. It's his body at the end of the day, but he created an identity and an image with that Brahma bull. It's like a brand with it, not just as The Rock, but, as Dwayne Johnson as well. But, a tattoo is a tattoo, and it's his body, like I said before, to say it again. I really personally, myself, I would have left well enough alone, because it was always something that was a part of him, and people identified with him with that. But life goes on. We still have the photos, the memories, and hey, The Rock is still alive and kicking, and that's really, if we're going to worry too much about the tattoo on the person rather than the person, we're going to stop being fans of The Rock just because he changed the tattoo. Obviously not me, but there are a lot of people that were certainly up in arms about it and saying that a piece of American history is now gone. Rest in peace, the bull. What is wrong with you? Why'd you do that? What the hell? It was iconic, sad to see it go. But some people are saying, as well, coming in defense and saying, what's wrong with y'all? It's the evolution, it's his body, yada yada yada, etc, etc. I think that people, it'll grow on people over time, but people will realise that, a tattoo is a tattoo. It's just ink dug right into the skin. I think the only problem, but not really so much a problem because of his level of infamy, and having worked in the acting industry myself, in media especially, television and movies, the makeup people are going to have more of a job. I guess it's job opportunity for the makeup department, but if I know something about makeup artists, they don't usually like to have to go to the effort of covering up tattoos if they don't have to, because it's more work that is unnecessary to them. I guess if they are made aware of the fact that a person has a tattoo going in, but I've been in productions where people have had tattoos and then I've got a tattoo, I forgot to mention, and they just get pissed off because then they've got to go and they've got to match the skin tone and colour, and they've got to try and wardrobe as well, they've got to try and coordinate. So it's more than one department. Makeup's got to coordinate with wardrobe's got to coordinate with the casting director and a few other people and say, well, how are we gonna, what are we gonna do here? What's the deal? What do we do? How do we cover it up? Do we use a shirt? Do we use a makeup? Because some of the makeup could rub off on clothes as well, and it just creates a bit of a mess. But obviously when you're the big main actor, they don't really worry about such things, so I don't imagine it would be a problem. But just a bit of insight as well into the media. But hey, rest in peace to the old bull, and good morning and good life to the Brahma bull, if you will. Here's an old story, but a good story with a very happy ending, at least for everyone except the criminal in this. It appears that 3 good Samaritans crash-tackled and convicted a child sex offender as he attempted to snatch a 4-year-old boy off his push bike in an Illinois park. So apparently this child was playing with friends in the afternoon in Woodstock, northwest of Chicago. Witnesses saw a man approach the boy, pull him off his bike before hefting him over his shoulder and attempting to run off. Really? You're trying to get him over your back like a duffel bag and run off? What the hell is wrong with people? And good for the guys who went and actually, when they saw him, And, apparently his claims he was riding up and down the street for a while. The guy came out of nowhere, saw him sprinting. They were confused, thought he was going to go after the kid. He actually said the parents got up and saw him, picked the kid up and pulling him this way, pulling his pants down. They were super scared, disgusted, shaking, going to cry. And there were 3 men that just basically went after him, gave chase, and they basically responded to shouts for help, and they ended up, they physically freed him, restrained the man, and because of the quick heroic actions of the Good Samaritans, responding officers and detectives, the child was not physically injured, and thank goodness for that. And what's interesting is that the person in question, whose name is Kevin Sorensen, at this point in time, he was a 39-year-old man. By the time he gets out of prison, I hope that he's a very old man, if he ever gets out at all, if he ever learns his lesson, if he ever reforms, But basically, unfortunately, it seems here that it's reported that he was found to have been convicted of child sex offences in 1969, though he was, quote, no longer required to be registered as such. So Sorensen has been charged with aggravated kidnapping and aggravated battery, along with unlawful restraint and aggravated criminal sexual abuse. So, yeah, a guy who has previously been registered as a sex offender, not learning his lesson, is a 39-year-old man. He's at a point in his life where he knows better, he should be doing better, and yet you're going out and doing that crap. I mean, it's just absolutely disgusting what some people think that they can get away with in modern day society. But the good part about this story is that he was caught, and the Good Samaritans who responded to the scene basically told him, basically held him down, restrained, and brought him to justice, and good thing they were there. And I guess it sort of brings in, kind of a reminder to parents as well that something should always be vigilant. If your child is of a certain age, no matter how, street smart or aware or that they may be, that they should never be let out on their own. Because, at the end of the day, we might think that we're ascended, that we're beyond primitive, but really we're just like anyone else. And there are some people that just cannot control themselves, but basically, no matter how smart, no matter how wise, no matter how safe an area is, always be vigilant. And especially because it was a young child in this situation, a 4-year-old boy, and shouldn't be out on their own at that age, if they were in fact on their own, shouldn't be unaccompanied, and there should be at least someone who is keeping an eye out on them. And in this instance, there are passers-by who are fortunate enough to catch what was happening and step in to stop it. But you can't always rely on other people to do your job. As a parent, and I know that comes across as rather cynical right now, me saying, how can I say such a thing in this incident? Well, think about this. In many of these instances where child kidnappings happen, how many times are the children's parents present when they are being kidnapped? Now, sometimes it's one of those things where it's like, they're, pedophiles and other sex offenders are just deviant and very cunning and sly individuals who will basically do whatever it takes and just somehow find a way to outsmart us all, because they do, use their intellect for all the wrong reasons. They don't just wake up one morning and think, I'm just going to take a child. They have a plan. They have to have a course of action, and it never goes well, but they think about all these things. They have to. And they do think about the consequences, but then they rationalize it to themselves, and they come up with a scheme, a course of action to basically try and tippy-toe around to, avoid any of the consequences. And, it's up to us to protect our children. It's up to us to basically hold these people accountable. And if we are everywhere and we are always vigilant and we're always present with our children as much as we possibly can, then these sick individuals will no longer have that state of mind, that rationale where it's like, they see, they get in that predatorial state, and they're the predator and they see the prey, and they won't be able to seek it out and snatch a child and do whatever, because there will be someone there to stop them, because there will be a parent there to stop them, and also because there'll be someone there to hold them accountable for their actions, and hopefully hold them accountable, and perhaps even reform them, rehabilitate them to the point where maybe one day they can become a fully functional and normal, from a matter of perspective, what we would define normal in this instance, not someone who would go looking out and trying to find a child to whatever. That's what I define normal in this instance. So anyone who wants to get up on my case is saying, what's normal? It's like, normal is someone who is not a pedophile. Case closed. And if you want to come after me about that, so be it. But fact is that vigilance is the key here, and if we are more vigilant and we're there at that time to hold that person accountable, then things like this will happen far less than they should. Last one for this Facebook feed. I think this should close out the little Facebook feed part of the podcast, because I'm looking at this right now. It's like, now, you know what? That's enough internet and enough saved links to quote, because I'm reading something now that I saved. There's a world championship for Excel spreadsheets. That's right. So apparently, everyone who doesn't know what Excel, if you know what spreadsheets are, if you've done any sort of, timesheet reporting or anything to do with tax, or just being a professional of any sort, or whatever, ever had Microsoft Office, you'll know exactly what Microsoft Excel is. And apparently there's a world competition, and some guy won it. I didn't even care. I'm not even reading into it, but I don't even know what the hell it's all about. I mean, what the hell? How does that work? I'm trying to read down here and see what the hell. It says that it's I don't even know. It doesn't even really say. But it says that it limits competition from ages 13 to 22, contracts with Microsoft, offers certification, testing, education materials, yada yada yada, land job offers. I don't know where they would land, perhaps in some data entry job, perhaps, I don't know. Maybe I just don't know anything. Maybe I should have done more research before I clicked in, or maybe this is just not important enough. Maybe that's just too much internet, and I need to... So, TMZ reports quite recently, Sephora, a makeup company, was sued for making a person break out in lip herpes. Oh dear. So, a Sephora cosmetics store in Hollywood cared more about peddling lipstick than the oral health of customers, it is alleged. And now a woman is stuck with a lifelong disease, according to a new suit. So a California woman claims she visited the store in October 2015 and sampled a lipstick from one of the common use tubes on display. Well, there you go. That explains it. And ended up with herpes on her lips. She says the infection was diagnosed by medical pros and claims never had herpes or cold sores before the Sephora visit. According to the docs, Sephora failed to clearly warn the woman and other customers of the risk of getting herpes or other diseases from trying on the lipstick samples. She says if she would have known, she would have avoided them like the plague. So, yes, it's rather interesting, and I guess that's probably a warning to some people. You know, maybe just stay away from the samples. You know, just maybe try before you buy your, you know, I don't know. There should be maybe just a little more health consumer, you know, checking out, you know, just people trying out and, you know, sampling. There should maybe be just a bit more quality control over what they allow, who they allow rather, as well, to sample their products. So if someone's got herpes on their lips, it'd be damn obvious, and you know, there should be someone to say, hey, or, you know, keep an eye on them, you know, with all due respect, because it's like, it's a concern of other people's health and safety as well. And the person that did have the herpes and did that, I mean, God, choking on my self, right? But the person who did that and sampled it, I mean, that's just, it's almost as bad as a person with an STD willingly, you know, or AIDS, willingly and knowingly having unprotected intercourse with people. It's something that, you know, is just a complete selfish and arrogant act. And whoever the person is, I think that they should try and, you know, maybe it's impossible now, but should try and hold them accountable, you know, even if they use the products, you know, and intentionally, knowingly, while they have something like herpes and put lipstick all over their face with the sampler, then there should be better security measures. And I don't know, it's just a bit of an interesting something that, you know, something you never think would really happen, but then it does, and there you go. Okay, so it is, what is this? What is it? It says here, a violent brawl broke out in the middle of a supermarket as shock shoppers abandoned their trolleys to watch the fight unfold. So, a brawl in New Zealand's supermarket has been captured on camera by a shopper. And the shocking footage showed two men fighting in the meat section, and it escalates. In just minutes, there appears to be a huge group of people involved in the fight. So, apparently they were fighting over the last tray of chicken nibbles. Huh. Some people thought they were fighting over the last slab of corned beef. Children can be heard crying, and cries were ignored. More men joining the melee of fight. That is, like, if that was their children that they left there, I mean, bravo, clap for the freaking parent of the year right there. If that actually was their children who were crying. I mean, it's not really confirmed in this post, but my goodness. Chicken niblets? Really? That's what you're gonna fight over? I mean, there are wars happening for much greater reasons, and we even say to those reasons they shouldn't be fighting over that. And you're fighting over chicken niblets. Or whatever they are. What is it? Chicken nibbles. Okay. Alright. Seems you got your priorities set. Now I think you need to go home and lock yourself inside your home for the next 10 to 20 years and think about what you did. You stupid idiots. Chicken nibbles. And a whole brawl started over that. And it was apparently, yeah, so the rest, it was at Pack and Save. And, yeah, that's just unbelievable. But, I guess you gotta believe it because, well, there it is. Right there. If you didn't believe it, it's there on Facebook feed, so it must be true. And it's on a legible news source. so it must be true. So, next one is... Oh, this is one that I'm sure everyone's heard about. So, KFC has released its own brand of bath bomb. So, of course, only in Japan, but still, KFC has turned its signature dish into a fried chicken-scented bath bomb. So, in Japan, they released the drumstick-shaped soap that will cause an explosion of the 11 secret herbs and spices, and you will be smelling delicious. I don't think I want to smell delicious. What if someone actually tries to eat me? What if I become delicious and cannibalism takes over and everyone becomes zombies? It could happen. Maybe this is how it happens. So, apparently, it's 100 customers enter into a competition to get their hands on the piece. So, I guess it's a competition, and yeah. So, 100 lucky winners will get to enjoy the aroma of famous chicken after they kick back and relax with the bath bomb. Why stop there? Why not release roll-on and spray deodorant smelling like KFC? Why not have, car air fresheners and, those Ambi Pures for the home that smells like? It is something that this could go very wrong very quickly. Here's one that everyone should have already known. Psychologist warns that Christmas songs played on a loop can be bad for your mental health. So, a psychologist has basically stated that if clinical psychologist and author Linda Blair told Sky News listening to all the Christmas carols, Christmas music could actually be bad for your mental state. A shop playing the same Christmas music on a loop for 2 months straight can actually have a negative effect on its workers. Really? People working in the shops at Christmas have to tune out Christmas music, because if they don't, it really does stop you from being able to focus on anything else. You're simply spending all of your energy trying not to hear what you're hearing. And it doesn't say it, but I'm sure that there's also a reference there perhaps to the whole Mariah Carey's Christmas anthem, All I Want for Christmas Is You, which plays over and over and over again. Makes you drive you insane. But I digress. Here's a little faith in humanity. A woman has been jailed for 4 months after she urinated on a homeless man's bed and then lit it on fire with the help of her friend. So CCTV showed 23-year-old Nicola King and her friend Jerilee Evans, that's a weird name, Jerilee, whatever. But nevertheless, they're spending several minutes trying to light the man's bedding on fire after Nicola urinated on it. Roy Ransom, who is the homeless man, was sleeping in the streets. He said a woman approached him. They were initially pleasant towards him until he walked away, at which point they decided to urinate and burn literally everything he owns, which obviously wouldn't be much because, unfortunately, when you're homeless, you don't have the luxury of having too many possessions on you, just more or less just the necessities. And basically, it was in court, it was revealed that the two women were originally nice to Roy, gave him £5 for some drinks until they became rude, and he walked away from them. Nicola King then proceeds to urinate on Roy's bedding, while Jerilee Evans, 25, later spends minutes trying to light the bedding on fire. After lighting all of Roy's possessions on fire, the pair can be seen laughing and walking away, and they were held in court. District Judge Anthony Callaway called Nicola cruel, and as she was holding onto her friend's purse as she repeatedly tried to light the bedding on fire. And let's say that in that instance, it's another one of those situations where it's like, the punishment should fit the crime. Perhaps have them stay out in the streets for a while and just see how hard it is for them. But I think there was also an online, I think there was some sort of fundraising, I think, or if there wasn't, then I really believe that there should be, in order to help this man out in his situation, or at the very least, that these women should be, they should have to pay some sort of restitution, more so than just a possession, because that would count for almost literally nothing. They should be accountable for this man's possessions, and also to get this man out of that situation, because it's good that they were held accountable for their actions, but still the fact that this man is still homeless is perhaps a problem. I'd say perhaps, I mean definitely a issue that should be resolved, because, I mean, it just goes to show, people in that situation are defenseless even against young female assailants like that. It's just not fair that, actions like this could happen, and if not for the CCTV footage, they would have gotten away with it. And even still, they've been, taken to court and everything, but they still, even in jail, they still have a roof over their head, which is perhaps more than this man has. And even still, in jail, they'll probably be better taken care of than this homeless man will be. And that's where I think, that definitely needs to be something done to help this man back on his feet and provide him with some sort of shelter or accommodation, because after that, it should be a wake-up call to people and say, hey, look, you know what, this man's homeless, pending on the situation, but still should be some form of shelter or accommodation so that these kind of things do not happen, and so that at the very least he has a place where his possessions can be held and they won't be, destroyed, vandalized, or stolen, or anything like that, Everyone should have that right, especially someone who virtually has little to nothing, But, nonetheless, let's see what else we've got in here on the Facebook feed. I think this one will definitely close out the Facebook feed. 425-pound teacher suspended for sitting on student's head and farting in his mouth. Okay, that's just disgusting. An Iowa educator at Kensington Grade School has been suspended from her capacities after professedly sitting on an understudy's head and flatulating in his mouth, abandoning him heaving for air. 34-year-old instructor Anne Margaret DeVille clearly needed to educate the understudy a significant lesson after the young fellow professedly made an open remark on her appalling fat ass. Interesting. She pushed him to the ground, lifted her robe, and just sat her rear end all over, and afterwards simply let out the greatest fart before by every one of his cohorts. He was heaving for air. He thought he would bite the dust. Disclosed the casualty's mum to correspondents. To top it off, she wasn't wearing any... Oh, for God's sake. Wasn't wearing any undies. What sort of debilitated individual does that to an 11-year-old? Is this real? Is it? I don't know. So, the school specialist at Kensington, Ashley Simmons, said the kid was under mental assessment after his instructor sat all over and flatulated while wearing no clothing. Wearing no underwear. As per the young man's mum, the most culpable piece of the entire issue is that the instructor wasn't wearing any clothes. So, Anne Margaret DeVille has been blamed for proficient unfortunate behaviour, and the Des Moines District School Board has authoritatively suspended her for 2 weeks without pay. That's it? 2 weeks without pay. Okay, so why isn't she fired? For starters, I mean, with all due respect, someone of that size in the care of young children is perhaps, you know, a health risk, a hazard, you know, because of her immense size and everything. You know, I believe that there's a certain, you know, certain level of fitness in that she should have, especially if she needs to, you know, in an emergency situation. Certainly at her size and in her physical condition, she would need to, for her health and profession, undertake some sort of regime to lessen her weight, because so she's 425 pounds, that's, you know, that's at least over 200 kilos, I'd imagine. And the fact that also no underwear, and the fact that she found that to be appropriate punishment to sit on this kid's face, to push him to the ground. So essentially she grabbed him and threw him on the ground, forced him on the ground, and suffocated him. Sat on his face. Why is this teacher not fired? Why is this teacher not being thrown into jail for assaulting a minor? If a man did that, we would be hearing about it, with all due respect. If a man did that, then we'd be trying to, you know, this would be frontline news everywhere. But this right here is just, that's just appalling. My goodness. Woman breaks down after seeing Annabelle Creation. So, Annabelle Creation is a horror movie that came out quite some time ago now, but a Brazilian woman was extremely affected by the film, and she basically, it seemed like she had some sort of anxiety attack, and she was screaming and punching herself. So, yeah, I guess this is a movie that if you aren't really into or able to tolerate the horror genre, then perhaps that's not really a movie that you should be seeing. But it was at the time the #1 film in America, and it stars Miranda Otto and Anthony LaPaglia, and it's a prequel to the 2014 film Annabelle. So yeah, it's basically based around a doll, and I guess perhaps this lady was a doll fan of dolls, maybe, just, I don't know. But yeah, it's almost a bit disturbing, the video, actually, just watching it as well. But, you know, when you're going to see a horror movie or something like that, and you know that perhaps you're not really able to handle that kind of, you know, level of intensity, that, you know, because some of these horror films do get pretty graphic, and it's where, you know, if you don't really have the mindset for it, if you don't really have, you know, the stability to just, you know, basically separate the fiction and fantasy from reality, then I guess it's really something that you shouldn't get into. You shouldn't be seeing, shouldn't expose yourself to it. Perhaps, you know, there's part of that in it, and maybe it was just something that triggered, and yeah, quite interesting to say the least, but a movie that literally drove someone damn near insane. Here's another interesting one. This one's from back in August, but still quite an interesting topic. A shower spy cam was found in a Lynx Africa washing, you know, basically washing liquid, a shower gel, if you will, to spy on a 13-year-old girl in the bathroom after filming. So here, hid a spy camera in a bottle of Lynx Africa shower gel to spy on a 13-year-old girl in a bathroom after filming another woman as a practice run. Yeah, well, that's just interesting. UK man Michael Magic. Good lord. 38-year-old concealed a mobile phone in the plastic container and cut a small hole in the front. So he positioned it in the Africa fragrance gel bottle in a bathroom cabinet and aimed it at the shower. But his teen target spotted the device, told her mum, and they reported it to the police. He was convicted and charged with voyeurism. He pleaded guilty and sentenced to 6 months suspended prison sentence. So, prosecutor James Haskell said the victim cannot get the memory of discovering what the offender had done out of her head, describing and saying that she noticed that the inside the bottle was a mobile phone, looked at the mobile, and she saw it had a video which showed the defendant positioning the mobile in the bottle, placing it in the bathroom cabinet, and directing the camera face towards the shower cubicle. So this guy recorded himself putting the device in, well, Michael Magic. I guess that maybe that's a pun on Magic Mike. Who the hell knows? Did he change his name to that? Oh my goodness. So yes, handed a 60-day rehabilitation activity requirement, told to attend sex offender treatment, and ordered to pay his victim $1,651 compensation, must register as a sex offender for 5 years. Well, I guess, as cynical as this may sound, out of all this, I mean, the guy was caught so easily, but I would think that in all of this, if that was me, I'd remove the memory. I'd keep the mobile. That's what I would do. I don't know what kind of, it doesn't say what kind of mobile phone it was, but I'd keep it. I'd be keeping it and saying, you know what? This is mine. I'm taking it. Sell it, make some money. What are they going to do? You know? Because technically it's not theft. Because, I don't know. But, hey, that's just me. But still, Michael Magic, you sick prick. And film yourself doing it. And have a practice run. And then to film a teenager. Really? What the hell? Ah, dear. There are just some people in this world that should be shot in the foot so that we can recognize them by the way they walk. And here's an interesting post, and it is from Anonymous. That is not to say the person is anonymous, that's to say the group Anonymous, I think. It popped up in my feed. And there's crazy rapscallions. Oh, they posted something, and might not be original, but something maybe they shared. And it's a little story. So we're ready for story time, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. A king had 10 wild dogs. He used them to torture and kill any minister who misguided him. A minister once gave an opinion which was wrong and which the king didn't like at all. So he ordered that the minister be thrown to the dogs. The minister said, "I served you loyally for 10 years and you do this?" The king was unrelenting. Minister pleaded, "Please give me 10 days before you throw me to the dogs." The king agreed. In those 10 days, the minister went to the keeper of the dogs and told him he wanted to serve the dogs for the next 10 days. The guard was baffled, but he agreed. So the minister started feeding the dogs, caring for them, washing them, providing all sorts of comfort for them. So when the 10 days were up, the king ordered that the minister be thrown to the dogs as sentenced. When he was thrown in, everyone was amazed at what they saw. The dogs were wagging their tails, playing with the condemned minister, licking his feet. The king was baffled at what he saw. "What happened to the dogs?" he growled. The minister then said, "I served the dogs for only 10 days, and they didn't forget my service. I served you for 10 years, and yet you forgot all at the first mistake." The King realised his mistake and replaced the dogs with crocodiles. Funny. Good stuff. And probably not originally story by them, but, you know, little bit of humour mixed in with a couple of the sad tales. And it looks like there's another one. Arizona mum busted for filming child abuse and selling it via popular app. Now this is just revolting. And so it basically says that, you know, something that she did, and neighbor basically said they were pretty normal to me. You can hear them say this story is just one in a long line of shocking suburb stories. So the lady in question, or even call her lady, is hardly a lady to be able to do something like that, but Kerry Harwood, a 28-year-old wife and mother, held down a job and thriving hobby, so they moved to New River, Arizona, had a job as customer service administrator at Hyundai, indulged in a photography hobby, filling her Flickr, Instagram and Facebook accounts, married her high school sweetheart, had a little girl. Life seemed perfect. However, so what she did was basically, she was an avid Pokemon Go player, but she had bad internet connectivity at her house, making it quite hard to catch the virtual creatures. Gave a friend and neighbor her login credentials for the game so she could catch them for her, and it led him to discover what Kerry had really been doing. So the Pokemon Go app was connected to Kerry's Gmail account, and there were illicit and distressing videos which appeared to show a woman molesting 2 young children, and there are several PayPal transactions in the amounts of $115, $101 and $50 that believed to be related to the video. So people were buying them off of her, and police were notified, obtained a search warrant, went to Kerry's home, and all these cars, men with guns, carrying shields, you know, that's the description from the neighbor. And Kerry, readily admitted to abusing 2 children on 5 occasions, believed that the children were her own 6-year-old daughter and 3-year-old son. While her husband Cody was at work, she would bring them into the bathroom and bathe them while also touching them. That's just disgusting. Make matters worse, created the videos for a man who gave money for them. Possibly living in Texas, paying Kerry for months for Snapchat videos of the illicit actions of Kerry, and made the videos with the children per his request because she needed the money and because she just didn't want to disappoint her sexting buddy. Well, I guess you can't blame her then, right? So for the 5 to 6 videos that sent molesting the children, gave her about $500–600 over the course of a few months. So they're seeking to arrest this man. However, Kerry was arrested on 2 counts of sexual conduct with a minor, 5 counts of sexual exploitation of a child, 5 counts of sexual exploitation of a child. You know, the first one for recording the videos and the second one for selling the videos. Bail has been set at $150,000, and Sheriff Paul Penzoni said in a press release that there were horrible acts of child abuse like this one can be stopped with the help of alert member in our community. If you see something unusual, contact authorities so we can end this exploitation. So it's just absolutely disgusting what has happened, and you know, especially for a mother who's supposed to be taking care of the children, and for such a betrayal of trust. You know, the mother is supposed to be the one to keep the children away from predators and out of harm's way. And for her to do that, I hope that she gets a lengthy jail sentence and that she never gets to see her children again. Honestly, because that right there, I mean, it's just no words that can truly describe how to just vile. This is quiet. Yes, I've really inadvertently picked a few that have flown through. Hey, there's something that might be a little more bright and happy. And I might finish on this one, which is stated to say, flying will change completely with regards to Qantas. Good old Qantas. Qantas to reveal plan for direct Sydney to London flights by 2022. So Australians, this is good news for us, would have access to non-stop flights from Australia East Coast to London and New York within 5 years. So I guess that means, well, direct flights to London instead of stopovers, and even New York direct flights. It's about time. Although without the direct flights, I guess the 10-day tour wouldn't have happened quite the way that it did. Myself and Alan would have only probably stayed in New York and maybe only stayed 5 days instead of the 10. Yeah, but things happen for a reason, but yes. So neither Boeing nor Airbus currently offers a plane that can reach such a distance with passengers and luggage at full capacity. However, 2 aircraft models currently in development, Boeing's 777X and a long-range version of Airbus A350, can get close. While Qantas has made no secret about its ambition to fly from Sydney to London direct, this will be its strongest commitment yet. Good for them. The next generation aircraft priced at about $400 million each. So this comes as Qantas is about to reveal its biggest, second highest profit result ever. Good for them, making money off of us. Just a lot. But it seems that their main goal is Sydney to London, but I guess it would also offer other, like I said, Sydney to New York and perhaps other places which are seemingly quite significant distance where stopovers are apparently necessary. But hey, you know what? Right now, we just stand by and wait for that to happen. But I imagine that, Jesus, how much are those flights cost in the beginning? They got to be, you know, flights costs aren't too bad right now. But then you're going to ask yourself, with the new planes and new flights and everything, they'll probably be more expensive. So, I mean, I hope not. I'd hope that they'd keep them competitive and keep them at least reasonably priced so that it entices people to actually fly with those services on those planes. But then I guess that just depends on what they find to be financially viable and feasible for themselves, and also just how much they want to rip us off. Well, I think that'll do for Facebook feeds, at least for this lot. There are plenty of others there. I'll get to them in the next one. But in the meantime, like, share, subscribe, and as always, my name is Liam, and I will see you guys next time.